We are back, and good morning once again. Under this very time, we are heading into the press review as we look at the top trending stories into the newspapers, and in particular, the business stories. And with me, of course, as always, I start with the new vision right here, and there is something interesting that I came across about the oil and gas sector. Of course, that is projected to create at least 160,000 jobs. And of course, when I read the headline here, from the very top, it says oil pipeline project gets 378 billion Ugandan shillings boost. That's a boost of 378. So I was directed straight to page 10, where I can actually find this particular report. And it says the oil pipeline, that's Islamic Bank, commits 378 billion shillings to the project. The Islamic Development Bank is the first financial institution to announce support for the East African crude oil pipeline that is known as the ECOP. The Saudi-based bank announced $100 million, that's which is equivalent to $378 billion, cost fund towards the construction of the project under the private and public partnership model. According to the bank statement, the crude oil pipeline is part of the 16 projects that is the ISDB Group Board of Executive Directors approved with a total of 1.12 billion US dollars in a development, and of course, and 1.79 million US dollars in grant across the globe. Sorry, as you can see that particular report. As part of the total fund, the bank also announced 295 million towards the upgrade of the national roads in Uganda. Of course, in a statement here, it says the discovery of oil in Uganda gives the country a unique chance to transform its economy by improving its infrastructure and also reducing poverty. We are proud to support the government with $100 million in financing for the East African Cooperation Project to help export its oil. That's regarding a report, a statement from the bank, the Islamic Development Bank. And you know, Uganda is expected to start mining oil come 2025, and a number of people are going to really get employed as a result of this. And of course, as I continue with this particular report, I'm about to wind it up. The development is a boost to the project at a time when certain financial institutions had announced that they would not support the East African Cooperation due to demands by the international activists, and majority of the demands were largely due to climate change. And of course, that was something that was very instrumental in regarding to why they actually had to move out. And yeah, they withdrew their funding. Actually, that's what I can say. You can see how dangerous they are, because there is a move, global change regarding the climate change that is being pushed globally. And of course, it's very important that we keep the Mother Nature despite the fact that there is the ongoing exploitation of resources. And now there is something that I've also come across here regarding what you need to know about the National Content Bill. And of course, according to the report here, Parliament on Tuesday passed the National Local Content Bill, which was authored by Kasanda, that's the North Member of Parliament, Patrick Nsamba, with support from various stakeholders, including the Private Sector Foundation Uganda, that's the PSFU. The objective of this bill is to impose local content obligations on a person using public money or utilizing Uganda's natural resources on carrying an activity requiring a license, and also prioritize citizens, resident companies in public procurement, and to ensure skills and technology transfer. That is something very remarkable in regarding to this local content bill. The objective, like according to the statement here, The objective of this bill is to impose local content obligations on a person using public money or utilizing Uganda's natural resources or carrying on an activity requiring that's the licensing, the license to prioritize citizens, that's resident companies in public procurement and ensure skills and technology transfer. And of course, further, as I go into this particular report, Samba urges that Uganda loses so much money that is repatriated by the foreign companies which are dominating the country's big development contracts, and such his bill seeks to provide remedies to such challenges. And of course, Uganda having challenges of profit repatriation is one of the reasons why they are particular coming up with this particular bill regarding the local content in Uganda and in particular. So it's aimed to boost the business activities, and this is an initiative that involved the private sector foundation of Uganda. And for now, I'm going to put the new vision aside, and I'm going to cross over to the Daily Monitor right here. Okay, I'm going to hold it a little bit here, and we check across what's making headlines into the world of business, definitely, as I'm going through here. And of course, come across an interesting story here. Of course, learners stuck at home as parents fail to raise school fees. I remember last week, if I'm certain, majority of the schools was the official opening when majority started actually school activities, and learners stuck at home as parents failed to raise school fees. When I read the report here, many schools across the country have continued to record low learners turnout in the first week of third term over lack of school fees. The third term is a critical period in the learner's academic life because it determines progress from one class to the other. And of course, as I continue further, some schools have increased fees despite pleas from the government to maintain the last term's fee structure. And of course, the term officially commenced on Monday, but some schools have increased fees by between 30,000. So the range of increment has been between 30,000 to 100,000 Ugandan shillings, while others have tactfully concealed the increment in the requirements category. Many school managers have defended their decisions, saying it is intended to caution them from the inflationary pressures that have more than doubled their operational costs. So you can see regarding that, and actually majority of the schools in the previous term closed earlier than they ought to, of course, due to the high costs of production that they were involving. And of course, that's regarding purchasing food items for the students. That was quite a little bit expensive and tight, and that's why they had to close a bit earlier. And as I continue with this particular report, of course, many school managers had to defend their decision, saying it was intended to caution them from the inflationary pressures that have doubled more than, of course, rising their costs of operation. Okay, that's very, very interesting. And of course, I'm going to wind up this regarding information technology. Of course, definitely, I can't go without talking about technology right here, as Mark adopts the use of robots in teaching. Makerere University College Computing and Information Science has secured a robot that will aid teaching and the learning process. And now we are heading, everything of course in the world is moving in so fast, quite a number of world orders are going on. So definitely this is unavoidable regarding the use of technology and the transfer. That's where the world is heading. And of course, according to here, the Vice Chancellor of Makerere University told the media last Friday that a multi-million smart classroom worth $100,000, that's equivalent to 380 million Ugandan shillings, has been established. Of course, the smart classroom, which has a capacity of 50 computers and equipment worth $50,000, that's about 190 million Ugandan shillings was installed by the university with support from the Chinese tax payer and education technology companies. So you can see this is quite very remarkable. Using robots while teaching. This is what we talk about, embracing the digital revolution to ensure that everything is executed with ultimate efficiency. And now I put the Daily Monitor right there, and at this very time, let's get into the international news. Well, and of course, talking about the cross borders, we are going to start with Senegal. And of course, we are looking at the small and intermediary enterprises. Senegalese small and intermediary enterprises go digital to increase productivity. And this particular report, of course, Senegal seeks to boost the digital transformation of its companies with a new program called ETER. It was launched by the Senegalese Agency for the National Development and Supervision of Small and Intermediate Enterprises. The Senegalese Agency for the Small and Support for Medium Enterprises has just announced the launch of its Employment and Economic Transformation and Recovery program known as ETER, which aims to promote digital transformations that's amongst the SMEs in that particular country, and of course financed to the tune of 24 million US dollars by the World Bank over a period of about 4 years. The ESME component of the ETR program aims to enable 5,000 small and intermediate assist enterprises to adopt more sophisticated technologies to improve their competitiveness. And of course, as we continue, the COVID-19 crisis has demonstrated the importance of digital tools. Senegal now wants to optimize the market, the national market, particularly by accelerating its digital transformation with a year-to-date gain of more than 18.23%. That's Zambia's Kwacha took the Russian Rebels position as the world's best performing agency. And that's it regarding Senegal, and those are the small and intermediary enterprises, a grant that is being distributed right there to ensure the maximum exploitation of the country's resources, and of course to raise the country's revenue base. And now let's head into the Bank of England, as the Bank of England delays interest rate decision after the death of the Queen. And as I read the report here, the Bank of England has postponed a key decision to raise the interest rates following the death of the Queen Elizabeth II. And it said that in the light of the period of the national mourning, the Monetary Policy Committee decision would now be announced at midday. That's on the 22nd of September. It follows moves by the several public bodies to change their plans for the coming week after the death of Britain's longest, of course, reigning monarch. The bank had been widely exploited to increase, of course, the rates on Thursday. Economists had been predicting that UK's central bank would raise rates to 2.25% at the highest level since December 2008. Last month, the bank raised the interest rates by the highest margin, that's in 27 years, in an attempt to keep soaring prices under control. It also predicted that the UK economy would fall into recessions, of course, later this year. High interest rates can make borrowing more expensive, meaning people have less money to spend, and prices will stop rising as quickly. But however, some have questioned how the effective UK rate rises can be when inflation is caused by the global issues. And of course, as I continue, energy prices climbed sharply when the lockdown was lifted and the economy started to return to normal. They have increased further as Russia sharply cut its gas supplies to Europe, and it had pushed up the price of gas across the continent, including UK having a huge knock-on effect on the consumers. And that's it regarding Britain not raising the interest rates following the death of the Queen Elizabeth II. And let's wind up the international news, of course, with Kenya. And of course, this time around, we are looking at the tourism of the country as the earnings double at 91% rise. Tourism earnings have more than doubled in 8 months to August as the sector continues to recover from a slump in the last years. And of course, despite the 2022 being an election year. According to the tourism secretary, that's Najib Balala, the sector booked 167.10 billion shillings compared to 83.16 billion in the same period, that's last year. July posted the highest receipts in the period of 26.99 billion, with August recording 23.86 billion following a rise in international tourists. The number of visitors surged 91.4%, that's to 924,812 compared to 483,246 in the same period, that's last year. The growth follows continued global recovery in international travel from the pandemic boosted by the countries, including Kenya permitting double-jabbed travelers. In 2019, which is regarded, of course, as the best year for the sector, Kenya registered over 2.04 million international arrivals, and that's about 296.2 billions in earnings regarding earnings from the tourism sector. And of course, the global airlines, pilots and staff shortages have also impacted the number of arrivals into the country, and as a result, the sector has remained anchored by domestic tourism. Yes, that's regarding the tourism sector in Kenya that has doubled more than 91%. And now let's cross over to the business tips and quotes. But firstly, let's have a review of the business tip of the day. And the business tip of the day today, it says, of course, prioritize customer support. Prioritizing customer support gives you your business a chance to turn unhappy customers into loyal ones. If you can be there in a pinch, you can relieve the issue and deliver your brand. A promise, and very, 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 very important. As a very important aspect regarding business, you need to focus more onto your bosses. Actually, literally here, the consumers, the customers actually are your boss. So embarking on a journey of customer support is very, very influential in terms of establishing your brand. Remember, customers are emotional. They are very tricky beings, intelligent, and of course very sensitive to changes. So it really minds a lot and counts big how you treat them, how you really think about them as a very important key aspect to ensure that actually you can survive into your business. Of course, you shouldn't be quick, of course, to run into making money, which is okay. Of course, you invest. The reason why we put up investments is because we want to earn a living, definitely, and we want to maximize sales. But remember, there is also that aspect where you actually have to consider who do you deliver to your service. And that's why, like I say, most of these big companies have what we call customer support centers, call lines. These are numbers that they put onto the product to ensure that actually just in case of any complaint, the customer actually has where to run. And that gives the customers confidence and of course into your brand. And at the end of the day, they are going to be loyal simply because they feel secure with your brand. And now let's cross over to the business quote of the day. Yeah, and regarding the quote of the day, and of course, I always start with the person that wrote, the author of this quote. And this time around, this is Heather Bresich, is the CEO of Milan. He says, there is simply no substitute for hard work when it comes to achieving success. There is simply no substitute to hard work when it comes to achieving success. Literally, we talk about success, but the driving factor for that is, of course, hard work. I know a good example, we can actually borrow it from our friends into the Western world. Everything is always counted on time, and success and time move hand in hand. You can't talk about success and you don't accompany it with time management. Definitely those two move together. So it's all about hard work. And when we talk about hard work, there is a difference between hard work and slavery. You can't be working, but in form of a slavery. But it shouldn't be that way, because with slavery, it comes with a lot of distraction and depression. That's the person you find that they actually depressed in terms of working hard. But there is that aspect of working smart. You work with your brains on point. You do everything for a particular reason. You don't just do things for just doing things, but you do them for a particular reason. You attach a purpose, you attach a timing. I'm trying to define hard work in this incident, or what we can say working smart, so that you ensure that you are not drained at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, if you're drained, definitely it's going to make you feel wasted, and you won't be in position to be to full usage regarding your purpose. And that's regarding, of course, hard work and success moving hand in hand. And that's it for this session. At this very time, we are going to get into a short commercial break, and we shall be returning with the coffee court. Good morning. Stick around.
Smart 24, driving business.
Chinayu chinyumira. Whether it is Katogo, Chikomando, Rolex Majasa to Nyanya Mbisi. Man, wherever I am, I enjoy Chinayu with your TV channels on my phone.
Nyumiro omulembe omupya ogujjudde ebisanyusa omuli emikutu gya TV egisukka mu 8 n'egya radio nga kw'otadde ne zifirimu ng'osinziirira wonna w'oli. Genda mu App Store oteeke app ya TV channels ku simu yo, olwo onyumirwa ennaku 3 ng'olabira bwereere ewatali kukozesa data.
Yo TV channels.
God.
Zizinga, wait.
Yeah?
Ka selfie.
Wow. Do you have the MyGo TV app? Oh, do you use star 206 hash? Labono. But life techina kunyumira. With the MyGo TV app or star 206 hash, you can make payments, you can change package, you can fix errors, you can check your balance anytime, anywhere.
Download the MyGo TV app from Google Play Store or the App Store or dial star 206 hash.
Ha! My phone!
Go TV Uganda. Love it.
You know the crowd is ready.
Okay, we've got to go live now. It is everyone tuning in to Super Sport.
Welcome all over the world.
You know the crowd is. You know the crowd is. You know the crowd is.
It's time for the main event.
Crowd is ready. Get loud and ready. It's time to settle the score.
We've waited a very long time, an age for some.
It is delicious! Glorious! Glorious! Just like...
Are you ready for football football's greatest season, live on SuperSport, only on DSTV.
Vimba ne MTN Kabode Super esimu ya sereza nga bw'ogisasulira mpola mpola kuba amasimu kyusa zi status za WhatsApp laba bu video ku YouTube oba kozesa Google okumanya buli ekiri wansi w'enjuba ku GB 2 ze tukuweza buli mwezi okumala emyezi 7 sasulako emitwalo 99 zokka ezisigadde osasule mpola mpola kati okola ki leero genda ku dduuka lya MTN erikuli okumpi weefunire MTN Kabode Super mangu.
This is Jordan. When it comes to classwork, Jordan is magic. Jordan shines. Jordan makes his peers better. Jordan is a true leader. White Star Magic family. Be a leader. Be magic.
Say goodbye to paperwork and travel costs. Now every MTN customer can register to invest in securities anytime and anywhere with Zabu in a few simple steps. Step 1. Dial *292#. Step 2. Select option 1. Register with Zabu. Step 3. Enter your full names. Step 4. Enter your national identification number. Step 5. Enter your national identification card number. In 24 hours, you will receive an SMS confirming your registration. Congratulations, you are now ready to invest. Smart 24, driving business.
Welcome back from that short commercial break, and at this very time we are heading into the coffee court and the discussion regarding this topic. Today we're looking at Islamic banking, a banking that largely delves on Islamic principles, what we know as the Sharia law. Of course, let's have the details regarding what is Islamic banking, how does it operate, and where is its future in Uganda. Coffee court, house more.
And welcome to the Coffee Court, where we digest matters of national economy. And of course, this time around, we'll be digesting the performance of the Islamic banking in Uganda. And I'm joined by the director in charge of Kampala campus, Kampala International University campus, Dr. Twaha Ahmed. Doctor, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and good evening, our viewers.
Good evening. First and foremost, what is Islamic banking?
Well, Islamic banking is a system of banking which follows the Islamic principles in a very simple way. And these Islamic principles, definitely for the religion of Islam, they are derived from Sharia. That is why sometimes you will hear it is called Sharia compliant banking or Islamic banking, or some other people even call it other names. Like in Turkey, they actually don't use the name Islamic, they call it participatory banking. So it is really a comprehensive method of banking which is following in a very strict manner the principles that are guided from Islam.
Okay. So how is this different from the other banking sectors in Uganda?
Yeah, the other system of banking, we usually call it conventional, system of banking. The most dominant actually is the system of banking which is following the Western economic framework.
Okay.
And that Western economic framework basically has coined banking to revolve fundamentally around the concept of interest rates.
Okay.
If you don't have interest rates, you don't have conventional banking, because you go to the bank, as we all know it today, you give them a collateral security and tell them, give me 20 million shillings. They give it to you at a rate of interest, which is being called here cost of capital, or that is the gain to the owners of that particular capital. Then you go and do whatever you are doing, you pay back the principal and the interest. That's the conventional way of banking.
Okay.
Islamic banking goes exactly against that, because interest rate, which is technically called riba in Islam, is prohibited. So if you want to now produce or to introduce a method of banking which does not use interest rate, then you have got to bring the alternative method of how money will be made by the banking sector, but also how the customers will be able to access without paying interest rates. So the Islamic banking system does exactly that. It is the real opposite of what the convention is doing.
So how do you survive as a bank if you never charge any interest rates? How do you survive as a bank?
This is how it goes. The Islamic banking system recognizes that the banks are business entities. They are really not charities. All right?
It's a business entity.
Therefore, by being business, the Islamic model includes the bank into the business practice. In other words, let me start from the conventional, maybe to make a difference clear. In the conventional system, all right, the bank doesn't participate in the business. If you are an investor, you simply come, give them collateral, they give you money, you go to the business, all right? You want to build, you want to import, you want to do whatever else, you want to go into agriculture, they don't care as a conventional system, all right? So they give you money, you bring back money with interest. Now, the Islamic system says, no, we are going actually to do business together, all right? So the bank is part and parcel of the business. It is not actually something that is sitting at the edge and leaving you to go and tussle it out on your own. So the Islamic banking model introduces different modes of financing in which you and the bank are partners, or you and the bank are participating in some kind of trade together.
Someone is still asking, because you said a bank exists to make business.
Exactly.
So you're saying Islamic banking is not a profit-making business. It doesn't.
No, it is actually profit-making.
So how do you make profits without?
Okay, so we now all know how trade is done, all right? How do you do trade? For example, if I wanted to go to China and buy merchandise, all right? I will go and buy at whatever cost, transfer it to Uganda, and then put on this particular cost additional monies. For example, I'll add the transport cost, I'll add the taxes, and I'll put a markup. So if I bought a dress at 30,000, I'll come to Uganda and sell it at 70 or 50, if that is what makes sense for me. That is how to do business. So the Islamic bank will exactly do that. It will ask you, what do you want to do? I want to go and trade. So you buy things at a given cost, and then it is known these things are going to be sold at this particular cost. So the Islamic bank participating with you in that particular trading activity will put a markup, but in real trade, not on money. So the difference here is that the conventional bank simply puts a markup on money, but the Islamic bank will put a markup on a real trade activity. Because you see in the Quran, this is actually maybe the genesis of things. The Quran, in the verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited interest rates, he says, Interest rate or riba, which we call riba in the Islamic terminology, is prohibited, but trade is allowed. That means if you really want to be able to participate in the financial sector, you are going to come with a trading model.
So is this a religious banking system, if I may put it that way?
Not necessarily.
Or it attracts whether you're a Muslim?
It is open to everybody. But it has to comply with that particular principle. That's exactly why we are saying that it is a banking system which complies with the Islamic principles.
You've put it right in your preamble that it has attracted a number of investors. Talk to us how this banking system is able to attract investors without the interest rates.
Yeah, let me tell you, Fred, you know it. Today, the traders, you have heard them many, many times, all right? Literally cry because of interest rates. The interest rates are choking businesses. Why? Because you know, the bank doesn't care about how you are performing in the real business world. They simply tell you, okay, you come, you have 100 million, take it, bring back 135 million. And with very, very stringent, time limits. Every time the time increases, they increase the interest rates. So eventually people get a lot of problems with interest rates. Now, the Islamic banking system is welcome to everybody because it does not put you under the pressure of interest rates. It is profit and loss sharing to the best of the interest of every investor. If we go into an investment project together, we make money, we share. We make loss, we share the loss. Now, what is the best deal more than that? If you are an investor, what better deal would you go for? Do you like the person who is going to tell you, I don't care?
I would want a bank that gives me interest if I was an investor.
Why would you like to take interest rate?
Because this is business.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the bank giving you money as an investor. The bank which asks you, we don't care what you have got from the field. All we need is give us back our principal and interest rates. And then you have got another one who says, no, come. I'm going to give you financing. If we make profit, we both share the profit. If we make loss, it is a loss to both of us. Who gives you a better deal?
So both partners carry money. I am now prompted to ask, to what extent does this succeed? Is it a successful banking system? Or it
is a success story around the world.
At what extent?
It is really a success story because if you go to the countries of the Arab world, they are basically transforming their banking system into the Islamic. If you go to countries like Southeast Asia, countries of Malaysia, Indonesia, and all those countries in the region, they have already moved more than 30% Islamic. If you come to other international business centers, even in the Western world, in the US, in UK, they are already opened up to Islamic banking, and big-time projects are being funded by Islamic banking system. So, to take you back to the question where you asked, is this a religious banking system? No, because it can be used by everybody. Religious people and non-religious people, they can all use it. What is required is compliance, not faith.
The examples you're giving seem to be emanating from Islamic countries. I have not heard you talk about a country which is not Islamic in nature.
I have talked about UK. UK is not a Muslim country, even if you go to the US. And many other countries in Europe, they have actually started using and accepting Islamic banking. In some of them, they are even teaching it in universities, all right? You go to the United Kingdom, they are already giving, accredited qualifications in Islamic bank and finance coming from the United Kingdom.
Is that justified enough to show that it has worked?
The point is, it is not that it has worked 100% because the entire world has not converted to Islamic banking. Maybe it doesn't have to convert. It will just be working as a side opportunity, as a side alternative. There are so many things that work side by side. You understand? You can have this or that, depending, because you see the world requires alternatives. You cannot say we are going to stick ourselves to one particular thing, all right? In politics, people want alternatives. That's why they have got multi-parties. You either go into this one, you go to the other one, the one which best represents your aspirations. So there are people who are saying, for us, we want the Islamic model. And they go for the Islamic model. There are others who say, we want the conventional model. So make the alternatives open for everybody, and then life goes on.
So let's now measure the success now back to Uganda. The examples you've given are beyond Uganda.
Yes.
So let's now measure the success of the Islamic banking here in your country, in my country, in our country.
Yeah, in our country, I think we are still marching towards the system. Because what happened quite a number of years that have passed is that there were legal reforms which needed to be done. Because within the law of financial institutions in Uganda, there were some prohibitions which would not make it possible to operationalize Islamic banking in Uganda. For example, one of them which is very, very easy to understand is this. In the conventional system, a bank is not allowed to own assets. All right?
In the conventional system?
Yes, you are not allowed. A bank cannot say, we are buying and accumulating assets on beaches, in the real estate, and so on and so forth. The bank is supposed to concentrate on its core business. So that is how the law was. Now, if you want to be able to operationalize Islamic banking, the Islamic bank will own assets. Because if I am entering into business with you, it means I am going to actually be an owner of assets. Now, you had to go in the legal framework and change some of those things. That is why, in our case, the central bank and other players thought that, no, don't simply go and start Islamic banking because it will go against the law. Begin with making legal reforms, which was done, all right? 2016, the law was amended to open up for Islamic banking, and the law was actually signed by the president. Regulations to govern the licensing of banks were done. And then at the point where we are supposed now to see investors coming into the banks and then getting the banks licensed to begin operating, then somebody comes up with some technicalities. So this is a common thing.
Dr. Kasura, is this system of banking subjected to the same rules and regulations like of other different banks?
No, they can't be the same. Certainly they have to be different because they are working on different platforms. That is why, exactly as I said, you even needed to change the law, financial institutions law, so that you can create opportunity for the alternative model to also be contained within the Islamic system. So, for example, you will find that as an Islamic bank, they will need to have a Sharia board. Other banks don't have to have that. Why do they need a Sharia board? Because the Sharia board has got to look at the compliance issues I am explaining.
That's the contradiction I am talking about, Doctor.
It is not a contradiction.
You seem to be contradicting with the other banks.
No, they don't have to be the same. This is just like saying, Fred, you go to church, Taha, I go to the mosque. It is not a contradiction. It simply says, you are a Christian, I'm a Muslim. We are all Ugandans, but then everybody has got the freedom to go and do what they want when it comes to faith matters. Similarly, in business, it is not a contradiction at all to have two banking models.
But your system seems to be pushing other banking system out.
No.
If I am a bank, doctor, and I am not interested in the interest,
By the way,
and yet banks thrive.
It is not pushing anything. The present conventional banks, they are at liberty, if they want, to actually open Islamic windows. You can have two in one. You can have the conventional on this side for those who want it. You can have the Islamic on this way for those who want it. So there is absolutely no point of this is pushing the other one. It is just a question of exist with everybody, all right? Have the two models available so that the customers can choose. And I don't understand why somebody should feel threatened that a customer will choose the other model.
Because principles of entrepreneurship thrives on making profit, and this is not an interest-making bank. Which alternative? Why would anyway? Why would I adopt this system?
If I was the customer, if I am the person who is looking for financing, I am going to look at two models on the market. I'm going to look at a model which asks me for interest, and I'm going to look for a model which says, no, for me I don't want interest. I want to participate with you, and let us now decide. I mean, leave it to the customer Let the customer enter the bank and say, I want to go to the Islamic side because I'm much more comfortable. By the way, there are two ways of looking at it. There are some people who will choose the Islamic bank because of faith matters, all right? In Islam, it is haram, as we say it, to take interest. So there are people who will choose to go to Islamic model because their religion doesn't allow them to do that.
But that seems to be
that is one. Okay, that is one model. But there are others who will simply choose it because it is the most efficient. It's the most efficient because you ask business people, I don't know, Fred, whether you have done business and whether you have actually been to the bank.
I am, doctor.
You ask people who have been in the banks and they have taken loans with interest. Why do they make a lot of noise all the time? I have had people in Casita saying, please, government, intervene. We are dying. The banks are taking us. Why do they ask that if they are very comfortable?
Let me also ask the same question to you with figures and statistics. Talk to us about how many people have embraced this system and you're sure they've benefited.
I have just talked about the technicality. I didn't finish that particular point, that actually Bank of Uganda, which is the regulator and is supposed to be licensing, has not licensed any bank in Uganda in order to start operating on a commercial basis, Islamic banking. And why have they done that? Because as I have had the arguments being thrown around the table, that you see, they cannot license banks because at the central bank level, where they are supposed to have a Sharia advisory council, they don't have experts. In their wisdom, they are saying they don't have experts who can sit on that council. Therefore, they are saying, let the Sharia committees be at the commercial banks, and that's fine. But because they are saying we don't have the necessary expertise in Uganda in order to have people competent to sit on the Sharia Council, so we cannot license the banks. And the last time I had the Minister of Finance saying we want to go back and make a legal reform in order to remove the Sharia Council. So when you ask the question of application, you can't apply what has not been licensed.
So how do we say it's been a successful system when we don't have the necessity?
No, we can measure success. We can measure success on the basis of what has happened elsewhere. And then we say, as a system, in its own framework, it can work.
Why would I
however, here in Uganda, we are not talking about any successes because we have not up to now allowed it to begin working.
Doctor, I'm afraid we are running out of time.
All right, yes,
so
I get you.
What would be your parting shots?
Actually, for me, I want to say to the regulatory system in our country, do not block a working model, because this is a working model. These are simple technical issues. You have heard about the law. People can go to the law court and they defeat a case on technicalities. Have you ever heard about that?
I have.
I think in Uganda what is happening today from the regulatory institutions, there is some effort to defeat this particular system on a technical issue, which I think is not a big deal. They should open the Islamic banking system so that we see who are the people that want to use it. Does it make business sense? Fred, if it doesn't work, it will die. This is a competitive world. If it doesn't work in this country, it will die. So rather than block it, you open it. Let us see whether it really is a meaningless system. If it is meaningless, it will die a natural death, and we don't have to bother about it.
Doctor, thank you for allowing to speak to us and being generous, definitely, with the knowledge. And of course, Joram, the coffee court for today, that is what we've been able to digest. I hope the viewers out there can now discern which type of system to use. My name is Fred Makuya. Coffee Court, Sonko, over to you.
Welcome back from that. The Coffee Court discussing the concept of Islamic banking in Uganda. And of course, you've heard everything. Imagine you come as an investor and the bank tells you, I'm going to give you this amount of money, but despite the profit you make, we shall share. The loss you make, we shall also share at the same time. That's quite interesting. So at the end of the day, it's upon you to make a decision. On Smart 24 TV, we bring matters regarding business in all corners, but at the end of the day, you decode that information and you make the most comfortable decision for your business. And of course, because you're looking at profitability to ensure that you can go far in terms of registering profits into your business. But of course, just a little briefing about where the Islamic banking, what is its origin, where did it come from? And of course, in line with its constitutional that's mandate, the Bank of Uganda worked with the parliament that's to ensure the introduction of Islamic banking products in Uganda. That's when, of course, it was enacted. And of course, the act in 2004 was amended. That was in 2016. That's to bring the Islamic banking on board. The amendments included specifications, that's provisions allowing for the establishment of a fully fledged Islamic financial institutions and for existing financial institutions to offer Islamic banking alongside their conventional banking services. Of course, the establishment of the Islamic Bank and also the institutes that are available currently to offer the services of Islamic banking. And of course, that was an initiative from the Parliament of Uganda together with the Bank of Uganda, 2004, and enacted in 2016 to ensure that Islamic banking takes heed in Uganda regarding that. But of course, in the essence, it's a banking system that is based on Islamic principles, or what we call as the Sharia law. It is underpinned in application by concepts, of course, derived from the Quran and writings of the Islamic scholars. These concepts revolve around value and sound currency, and of course in fairness and transactional dealings, the latter being structured within the bounds of the Sharia law. Parties, of course, in any transaction in this banking system are obliged to conduct their business affairs with a focus of what is called permissible and lawful under the Sharia law. And that's regarding that very particular subject of the Islamic banking. Probably you could think of going to get loans from, of course, Islamic banks and also those institutions that offer the Islamic banking concept. And remember, it's not only in Uganda, but also across the globe, Europe being one of the countries, which of course is also undertaking the Islamic banking. And at this very time, let's get into a short commercial break. We shall be returning with the topic of discussion. Good morning.
Smart